Last week, we had a look at 3 Blu-rays from Vinegar Syndrome, and this week, we are back in Godzilla territory, because we are going to be checking out not 1, but 2 X Plus USA resin statues that were released way back in 2002. The first one is of Gigan, based on his 1972 appearance, and the second one is of King Ghidorah, based on his 1964 appearance. Ooh. All right, well, you know what? Usually my videos have a really quick, rapid-fire montage of me taking things out of the boxes, but I did not realize that these 2 figures were going to come disassembled and in 5 separate boxes. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm just going to skip that and get these out of their boxes as quick as I can. And there we go. As you can see, there is a lot of assembly required, a lot more than the vinyl pieces that are being released now. Obviously, these came out 17 years ago, so I got them secondhand, and they're not immaculate. There's a couple issues with them here and there, but they're still in great shape, and I got them for a great price, surprisingly, on eBay of all places. Show you Gigan quickly here first, since he is in a little better shape than Ghidorah. The only real issue with this statue is that the side mandibles around the tusk are snapped off, but I could get a little sculpting putty, sculpt out some little beak shapes, and glue those onto there. No real big deal. And the wings, you can see all these little points. They are cracked and bent up a little bit, but honestly, when it's put together, those are going to be in the back. You're not really going to see them that much, so I'm not really concerned with that. Ghidorah is the one that is worse for wear. You can see that there is a lot of paint chipping on the wings, and even on the body, you can see that a lot of his little scales are the paint is starting to flake off on a lot of the scales. As for the heads, this one has a horn snapped off on the left side, and a couple of those little neck spikes are cracked off of the back. This one, I think, is in pretty good shape, just missing one of the neck spikes. Surprisingly, the horns are still there, no other cracks. But then the right head for the statue, this one, the top part of the head is snapped off, along with the front part of the bottom jaw and one of the horns. Luckily, all the pieces are here, so all I'll need is a little bit of glue and reassemble these back together. Doesn't seem like it'll be too hard, just pop them back into place and let the glue dry. Self-explanatory. Tails are in good shape, don't see any cracking there, and the base is in pretty good shape. Oh, and that's what I forgot to mention too. Gigan also came with a base, which was missing on this figure. But unlike Ghidorah, who definitely needs this base to stand, which I'll show you, Gigan can stand perfectly well on its own and looks great just like this. Gigan is the easier of the 2 to assemble, so I am going to do him first. You just take the arms, pop them on here, and obviously you're not going to want to leave it like this if you're tracking one of these down. I'm just popping this on for the video. I'm going to glue these in later. Going to want to use some heavy-duty super glue or Gorilla Glue, whatever is going to hold this together, because you don't want pieces falling off of it. As you can see, real easy. The arms just pop right in. And then the slightly complicated part is getting the wings on the back. Just need to figure out which spot goes where. I think that one goes on the right side. They are loose. This is not something you're going to want to leave like this. Make sure that when you put yours together, if you're still trying to track one of these down, put it together well. And then the center wing. There we go. And now that Gigan is put together, it is time to put together Ghidorah, which is going to be the task for the morning here. For Ghidorah, it seems like the most sensible parts to start with are putting the body with the peg and the foot onto the base. Now, from what I know, you cannot display Ghidorah without putting this on the base. And I think another issue was the tails. I don't think the tails actually rest. I think they float up in the air. So that's another reason for the base. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to actually attach them, but I'm going to put them in the spots where they're supposed to go just to show you where they would be. See, they are floating in the air, and without these being glued, they are going to droop down like that, so I'm not going to keep them in. I'm just going to show you where they go. Right now, they're not perfect, but you can see they do take up a lot of space. I want to say right now, from just where the neck attachments would be to the back of the tail, that is at least a foot, if not maybe a little over a foot from front to back. Because this is going to take up a lot of space, including the wings, including the heads. So definitely, this one's going to be one that dominates one of your shelves. So for now, I'm taking those off. Don't want them to knock around and break. And I have a feeling putting the heads on next is going to be my best bet. Let's see which one goes where. I'm gonna guess that this is probably the center head. Yep, that one fits right there. This one was the right head, the broken one. And then the left head. And once again, you can hear they don't really pop into place. They just kind of rest in place. So gotta remind myself I need some glue to get this thing finalized and completely put together. And these are the bits that are gonna take up a lot of room on this figure. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention with the wings. All the little tips, they are broken off, but the wires are still there. So if I want to sculpt it, I can just get those little pieces back on there. If I even want to bother, because they are really small pieces. So it's not really something you notice, but just have it complete. I might do that little bit of sculpt when I have the time. There we go. Wing number 1, turned a little here, and wing number 2. And now that these are completely put together, for the most part, it is time to talk about them for a little bit. Now, as I said, these are resin figures. They're heavy, they're very fragile. Problem is, these are top shelf figures. But you're probably not going to want to put these on a top shelf, because if these take a dive at some point, if you live in a place that's prone to earthquakes, or if you have animals that like to bump into your shelves, if these take a dive off the top shelf and hit a solid wood floor or even a carpet, they are going to shatter, probably beyond repair. As you can see, they're already pretty battle damaged as it is. So if you want these to last, find a good, safe place to display these. I'm not even sure where I'm going to put them myself yet. But I knew that when I saw these, as I said, I got them on eBay, that I had to have them. Because I've been looking for a King Ghidorah for a few years. I missed out on the 68 release that came out, I think, I'm not sure, 3 or 4 years ago. Couldn't afford it at the time. Couldn't afford the re-release of that figure. Decided to pass on the Flying Ghidorah figure. And most recently, the 64 King Ghidorah figure was just released. I was considering getting that because Godzilla vs. Monster Zero is the second Godzilla movie I saw. Once again, TNT's Monster Vision, Godzilla Bash 94, my first introduction. I've mentioned that in some other videos. So King Ghidorah, or Ghidorah, or King Ghidorah, or Monster Zero, whichever you want to call him based on what movies you saw first, has always been one of the most important kaiju for me to have in a figure or statue form. The big ones for me were Godzilla 64, Rodan 64/65, Mothra 64, and King Ghidorah 64/65. King Ghidorah was the most important one for me that I was still missing. Finally was able to track one down for a great price. And surprisingly, considering this is a very, well, at least at this point, it's a 17-year-old statue. So it's pretty old. I want to say that these were originally only released by X Plus USA back in 2002 as runs of 1,000 pieces. So they're pretty low, pretty limited. But even for something that was released that long ago, you can see it is a very highly detailed statue. Just looking at a close-up of the face here and having a look at the neck and the scales, there is a lot of detail put into this statue. And I keep wanting to call it a figure, but this is a statue. And it looks beautiful. The paintwork is great, minus, the little pieces that are flaking off here and there. And of course, minus the broken bits, which I'm going to try my best to repair. But as I was saying, I got this on eBay. It was used. Surprisingly, the bidding on this only went up to $152. That's what I paid for this. I thought that was a great price. I even put my highest bid as a little higher. I thought this would go for more around $200 because, if you want to get the new X Plus vinyl statue right now, that one from Japan, including shipping, is around $400. And I did like that one. It's just that I wasn't a big fan of the pose. I'm used to, Ghidorah's heads having more movement, more fluidity to them, and those seem kind of static to me. It's still a great figure, but something that I liked about the original 68 release and this statue release is that the heads they're very fluid. They have a lot of movement to them, which I like. So honestly, I couldn't believe that this only went for $152. Of course, taking into account that it is a damaged figure, the damage is not that severe. It's just a couple little pieces broken off, and mostly they're on the back side of it. Those little spikes on the necks. The head is going to be very easy to repair, and then, there's little scratches on the wings here and there. I'm okay with that. The suits were not perfect in the movies. So I'll just say, oh, hey, yeah, the suit was a little messed up. That's why those scratches are there. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And while King Ghidorah was one that I have been trying to track down for years, Gigan, on the other hand, is one that, was pretty much, it was going to be, if it came up for a good price, I would get it. I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla vs. Gigan, but the kaiju is still a very interesting design, and it's a pretty deadly kaiju. It's a kind of one that you want to have in your collection. And I wasn't expecting to buy, 2 of these in one shot, but the person who was selling the King Ghidorah statue was also selling this X Plus 2002 Gigan statue, which I thought actually has a much more interesting pose than the standard X Plus vinyl releases. So I thought, same thing as Ghidorah, if it went for a good price, I would try and snatch it up. But once again, it wasn't buy it now, it was bidding, so it was, it was luck of the draw. When bidding was all done, I honestly could not believe what this figure went for, because it's got great detail. Once again, the only thing that's really wrong with it are the busted up side beaks. It's got a great color to it. It's more of a dark tealish with more of a green tint than a blue tint, which I like because it seems like a lot of the paint schemes on some of the other vinyl figures have more of a blue color, and for me, I always see more of a green color in Gigan, so I really like that. I like that the arms are, displayed out kind of in a fighting stance, and that Gigan is also looking up at the sky. So it's a great statue, and this one, the bidding ended at only $66. Couldn't believe it. $66. It's in better condition than the King Ghidorah that went for $152, but only $66? Couldn't believe it. I still needed to pay shipping, which was like $30, and then a little bit extra for tax, which was, I don't know, $22 of that. So, the total was a little bit higher. But, $152 for the King Ghidorah, $66 for the Gigan, and there's only a couple small blemishes with each, very easily repairable for the most part. Now, when it comes to width and height, you can see that these two really take up a lot of room on this table. I'm pretty sure that the Gigan is in a 30 centimeter scale, but it's around 13 inches tall. And same with the King Ghidorah. I'm pretty sure this is in a 25 centimeter scale, but also stands just about as tall as Gigan. So they're both about 13 inches tall. And with King Ghidorah's wingspan, I measured this out, and it is actually 25 inches from wingtip to wingtip. So this is one you are going to want to find some space for. And while Gigan is not as big, his wings and tail definitely do command some space. You can see the footprint compared to King Ghidorah is still very large. So I'm going to do a quick size comparison with this. I think it's most appropriate to bring in the Destroy All Monster 68 Godzilla figure. It was also seen in Godzilla vs. Gigan, which is where these two characters are from. Alright, now I think you know what I'm talking about. This Godzilla, a little bit shorter, I want to say is about 11.5 inches, 11.75 inches tall. But compared to King Ghidorah and Gigan, you can see how much room these two statues are going to take up, if they're ones that are on your list of ones that you want to track down still. If you're looking to get a Gigan or a Ghidorah in the 30 centimeter or 25 centimeter scale, those are great. The original King Ghidorah 68, that's one of my favorite releases. And the new 64 release is really great too for me. Gigan, well, I'm not as big of a fan of the 30 centimeter scale release for, the X Plus figure, the vinyl figure. It's a little short for my taste. The stance is kind of dopey for me. I think this is more of a power stance for Gigan than the vinyl figure, but it still looks great. And also, if you get those, they're definitely going to take up a lot less space than these two mammoths are going to take up. Like just these wings, I'm looking at them now that they're assembled. It's like, oh God, where am I going to put this thing? And Gigan, let me twist him around a little bit. You see front to back, ooh, that tail, that's going to take up some room on the shelf. Let me put Godzilla right next to him first so you can see their footprints. You can see there, even with Godzilla's tail stretched all the way out, Gigan's tail curled is even longer than Godzilla's tail. So yeah, definitely shelf hoggers. So I think I've done enough talking about these two today. I've got them unboxed. I wasn't planning on doing a full review of these. I don't have the original boxes since I got them secondhand. And I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what they look like, if these are two statues you haven't seen before. I've checked YouTube and I haven't seen any videos or collection videos that even really look at this Gigan. So now if you want me to do a full review on this one, let me know. I'll do that for you. King Ghidorah, on the other hand, there's other videos on him. I just wanted to show off that, I'm happy I finally got one. Not trying to brag, but, I am really excited I finally have a King Ghidorah in my collection. So, I think I am going to finally wrap up this video now. If you've enjoyed it, remember to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not one of my followers already. Click the bell icon so you're notified when I upload new videos. And if you love all things monsters, Halloween, horror movies, and unboxings, go ahead and check out some more of my videos in the future.